Heyo everybody, Haku here with this week's HaQ&A video, HaQ&A 58. I have been on it with the numbers the past few weeks. So yeah, we got plenty to talk about before even getting into the comments, and we got 5 sections for the comments this week. We got, the same 4 as last week, plus Attack on Titan. We've got Attack on Titan, One Piece, Tower of God, Boku no Hero Academia, and Magical Girl Raising Project. And then, of course, just the general stuff to talk about, which going to be kind of important this week. I feel like over the course of the week, I'm always thinking like, okay, I need to put this in a Word document to remember it. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll do it later. And then I keep doing that, and then the day comes when I plan to record all this, and I try to remember all the things I thought of during the week. So, yeah, a couple things to talk about. So, on Twitter, I started doing polls to vote for which anime I'd watch next, and that's currently going on. If you're watching this, 2 of the voting things have probably already happened, maybe all 3, and we're moving into the finals. But yeah, basically, there are 11 other shows in addition to the ones I am already caught up to that I want to watch this season, and I don't know which order to catch up to them in. And so I'm like, okay, give me some votes. Which one do you want me to watch next? And that'll influence the order that I watch them next in. Like, I'll probably, whichever one wins, I'll catch up to that next, and then I'll catch up to all the rest of the finalists, and then try to catch up to the rest, and some of them I may not even finish before the season ends. And I guess that's why the voting's important. So whichever ones you really want me to get to first, go ahead and vote for them. So, yeah, and that means that there will be more series reviews to come. Like at the end of this season, if I'm watching just a ton of other shows other than what I'm covering on the channel, there are going to be some series reviews for some of them. Like how last season I watched, I think, 5 other shows other than what I covered on the channel, and I did series reviews for 2 of those 5. So something like that, only a bit more. And that's why I think I mentioned it in the last HaQ&A that I was only planning maybe to add Centaur no Nayami to next season, week to week, and cover that week to week. So I might only cover that week to week and then just watch like a bunch of other shows, and that'll give me more time to do series reviews for the shows from this season, and then all the shows that I watch next season that I didn't cover week to week, I can do series reviews for them the season after that. So that might be interesting. Of course, we're going to keep watching One Piece, we're going to keep watching Boku no Hero Academia, all the ones that are continuing onward into next season, we're going to keep watching them. It's just the only new one I want to add on to that is Centaur no Nayami. And yeah, I guess that explains that point pretty well. Also, my next, you know how I said that I've been trying to do series reviews and like top videos and stuff like that, and I've done a couple since I said that. My next planned one is the Top Manmusu waifu video, and I'm thinking that if I work on that over the next 2 days, I'll probably have it done by this weekend or something, and then record it early next week and have it up sometime next week. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking that'll probably be up sometime next week. And after that, I'm thinking maybe a Top Kimono Friend video. Like, it's something that I've discussed twice, but I feel like my opinions have changed even now. So I'm thinking about maybe a video on that eventually. But if I do that, it'll be after the Top Anime Waifu video for 2016, if I do it. Because here's what I'm thinking. What I was planning to do and what I plan to do in the future is every year, sometime between Christmas and early January, sometime in that, whenever I can finish it, sometime in that time range every single year as sort of like a channel anniversary thing, I do my top 50 anime waifus. And that would just be sort of a yearly thing, see how things change with all the new shows I watch each year. And I was going to do 2016's, but I had been so busy and so many other videos come up that I still haven't even haven't done it. So I was wondering, do you still want me to do that? Because I already have a lot of the work done for it, I guess. And I was just wondering, do you guys still want me to do that? And it'll just be covering up to, I think, the first video, or the first anime I watched that wouldn't count would be Magical Girl Raising Project. Because it didn't finish in time for it didn't finish by December. So that's where I would have the cutoff date at. So yeah, if you guys want to see that, I still would be very happy to make it. Or if you just want me to hold off and want me to not do it, and then I'll do my first one will be the 2017 one sometime this December, January. That'd be cool too, but I do still want to make it. If you guys don't want to see it at this point, if it's too late for it, then you can tell me and I'll just go ahead and skip it. Also, the bonus part, before we move into just one general comment, the bonus will be in the Magical Girl Raising Project section this week because it has to do with that series, and I don't know if it'll get a little bit spoilery, so I don't want to put it in the general section. My only general comment though this week that I wanted to discuss was Ilala211 said, remember when I suggested you do a video about anime you don't like? Well, I take it back. I just saw a video like that from somebody else and the comments are brutal. Not worth it. If you ever seriously consider making such a video, you need to steel yourself for vitriol in your comment section. And yeah, I get what you mean, because people have gotten really butthurt in the comments before if even I like or dislike something that they think I'm not strong enough in loving or hating. Like if everybody's freaking out thought something was amazing and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good, I get a bunch of flack in the comments. And this isn't very often. This is a very rare occurrence, but it has happened a few times in the past, because usually I'm pretty fair with everything, so there's usually nothing really polarizing that would cause any of this. But sometimes if I'm just like, I liked it but I'm not freaking out about it, I get a bunch of crap in the comments like, why don't you like it more? Or if something everybody's hating on and I'm like, yeah, I don't like that either, they're like, no, why aren't you upset, why aren't you angry, why don't you hate it as much as me? So I can't even imagine saying, oh, I don't like this show or this show. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like I couldn't do it. But another reason I don't think I could do a video like that in the first place is because I'd have nothing to talk about. When I watch something, I don't watch it trying to think that it's bad or anything. I watch it trying to think that it's good. I look for the good in it. And even if it isn't very good, I enjoy it for what it is. Spend my time enjoying it. Why watch it if I don't think it's good? But yeah, I feel like like the natural four categories, there are shows that I both think are good and I enjoy, and they're everywhere. There are tons of shows I think are good and that I enjoy watching. And then there's some shows that I'm like, okay, technically, production-wise, story-wise, I guess they're bad, but I still enjoy watching them, and I think entertainment is the most important part of fictional media to begin with. So, I mean, it's fine, it's whatever. And, like, even if I dislike something, which is kind of rare, even then, I can think it's good without, like, really liking. Like with, just the example of when I tried to watch ReZero. Like I said, I thought with the animation and stuff, it seemed like it was a good show. I wasn't liking it. I wasn't having fun watching it. It was just a pain, a chore to get through, so I stopped watching it. And that's the thing. It's like, I didn't like it, but I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I think it, just the way the first episode was done especially, I think it was a good show. I didn't enjoy it. And like, if I were to think of an example, I think the only thing that I could think of that I both thought was really bad and I also disliked because kind of going in line with me thinking it was really objectively bad is Sword Art Online. I think that's the only show that I could say I both dislike and I thought was bad. But even then, I'm not going to make a video of how much I dislike it, because I think even though it's bad, it's perfectly fine to like it being bad. That, and I mean, why spend so much time being negative on stuff, you know? But also, I think the problem in that, though, it comes not from like thinking something's bad or not liking it. It's when people like, it's like if they have something bad but they like it, but they like it but they're not willing to admit that it's bad. Like, say, Naruto as an example. I enjoyed watching it for many years, and there were times when I really didn't like it, but I still just, I could have fun watching it or whatever, but it wasn't good story-wise, it wasn't good quality-wise, even though I could like it. And I think the bad is when someone, and I hate to use somebody else as an example, but using, say, Double 4 Anime as an example, that went out and attacked other people that didn't like Naruto because he thought it was good. And it's like, you shouldn't really hold your own bad taste like as a standard for somebody else. I think maybe that is the point I'm trying to get at, is that even if you don't like something, it's cool for other people to like it. But if you like something that's objectively bad, don't judge people for thinking that it's bad when it is bad. Like, I guess that's the best way to put it. I don't know. It's a really difficult topic, honestly. So yeah, I wouldn't ever make a video like that. Not because I think your suggestion's a bad idea or anything. It's just because I wouldn't have anything to talk about. And like, even thinking of maybe the other two anime that I did not. One that I tried to watch, and again, I didn't think it was bad. I just couldn't get through it. Was Kankol, or the Kantai Collection anime. I tried to watch it. I couldn't get through it. I didn't like it, but I didn't think it was bad. And there were a lot of people saying they really, really liked it. So I think that maybe it wasn't bad. I didn't really like it myself. And then on the other hand, ones I thought were bad but still liked. Taboo Tattoo is probably the worst show I've watched. I don't know how I would compare it to Sword Art Online, because it was really, really bad, but I still enjoyed it. It was like bad to the point where you could laugh at it and enjoy it in that sort of way, you know. So yeah, I guess that's I think it's good to discuss stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that's a pretty long-winded discussion on that topic. But that was the only general comment. So I'm gonna move into the 5 show sections now. First up for the show sections, we have a Tower of God section. And the first comment in it is Kaz the Rapper, LMFAO, Girl F's text from Yorick is, "Are you asleep?" And I love that, because I didn't really pay much attention in the live reaction to the different texts and everything. And I love it how it's really just Yorick just bombarding all of them with texts and not getting any responses and everything. Like, poor Yorick. He is just trying so hard with the ladies and getting nowhere. Next up, Fancy Grain said, "My favorite panel is Bomb catching Yuri and Garam's googly eyes." Both of those panels were funny. One of my favorite panels too, though, was after Sanchez had hit Hell Joe with his attack, and he had the freaking out panel like, "Master Joe," and the way it was drawn, where it was like the colors were fading up off of him. I thought it was really funny. Then next up, Future Guy 2045 said, "So I'm assuming Yorick can't use Shinsu either, because he just punches Hell Joe's blast, and then instead of floating using his Shinsu, he lands on Bomb's blue ore. If this is true, then it'd make for a pretty good handicap." And yeah, that all makes sense, and a ton of people are bringing it up that they don't think Yorick could use Shinsu. And yeah, I think that it looked like his punch just blew away the attack, but I also don't really get, if he can't use Shinsu, why. I don't get that. He's an irregular. From what we know of irregulars should just be able to take the Shinsu and make it their own and use it on their own. So I feel like he should be able to just use it like Bomb does. It would make a pretty good handicap, but I think we maybe need, and of course, you could give us an explanation next chapter or the chapter afterward, but as for right now, it's not really making sense to me why there's an irregular who can't use Shinsu here. If an irregular can use Shinsu without a Guardian's permission, I don't see why Hell Joe not allowing Shinsu would affect an irregular. Either way, though. And then lastly, already, not really many for Tower of God this week. Like one, I didn't really get many comments this week. I don't know if it was really something with... I thought the chapter was pretty good, but I saw a lot of people that were just kind of like, about it. So yeah, we didn't really have a ton of comments on it this week. That and like 3 or 4 of the comments were pretty much the same thing as, "I can't tell, but I don't think Yorick is using Shinsu." Which, again, I agree, I can't tell, but I don't think he's using it. But I also don't get why he's not using it, because he's an irregular. So yeah, like I said, all of that doesn't make total sense. But the last one for Tower of God is Anime Watcher saying, Yuri and Yurik are such adorable dorks. No wonder why they seem to know each other before the founding of Volhaixsong. This is a solid chapter for me, however I'd have to take a 100th of a point away from the rating, because you didn't draw a close-up panel of Yuri reacting to being carried in Bomb's arms. I mean, come on. And I agree, that would have made things, things were very, very funny as it is, but that would have made it even funnier, because we had the panel where Yuri, she goes in for this awesome attack, but then there's the panel of her just getting sniped out of the sky by Sanchez, and it's all cartoony and funny. Then another funny cartoony panel of her getting caught by Bomb. And if they had done those, and then just a third panel that was just maybe her face looking up, just shocked, blushing or whatever, senpai noticed me, getting caught by Bomb. I think just a face shot of her reaction would have been really funny to put there. Like you said, it was a sort of a opportunity missed. And yeah, I'm just very surprised. I'm not used to us having so few Tower of God comments. But yeah, that's it for Tower of God this week. Next up, we have the Attack on Titan comment. There's only one really, and I had another comment that was similar to this one, but I'm using this one just, of course, to because it was first and it's the same point really. But Whitebear Beppo said, last episode the CG turned me off, but I had zero problems with the CG this episode, which was surprising. And yeah, a couple things I thought about the CG in this week's Attack on Titan episode. It didn't bother me as much as last episode, I will say that. Last episode, I guess seeing it for the first time, learning that, oh, they're going to be using CG, I guess seeing it for the first time kind of shocks you and makes you they're doing this. But also, I think it maybe looked a bit worse last week. It looked a bit better this week. But in addition, there were only 2 or 3 short spots where they even used it, and it looked bad and out of place and whatnot. So it wasn't very often, and when it was used, it wasn't used for very long. So it's not a massive issue that I would really hold hard against the episode. But on the other hand, those 2 or 3 short problem spots, when you see that, it kind of, just for a brief moment, it takes you out of what's going on, and you think about it, you see that, and you're like, oh crap, the CG, and then you get back into it. But, so yeah, it's not the worst thing ever, not something I'd really hold hard against the episode, but it's also not really the best it could be. It's not optimal. It's not what you would choose, you know. And yeah, that's it this week for Attack on Titan, just one comment. Next up, we got Boku no Hero Academia comments. And the first of those comments is by Gal Anonim, who says, about the chapter with the worse art style than normal, I've heard it's because Horikoshi was hospitalized. Oh, and these are both from today, actually, I believe. Today being, I'm recording this at some point Wednesday. Gal Anonim saying, about that chapter with the worse art style than normally, I've heard it's because Horikoshi was hospitalized that week, even though he wanted and managed to give his readers a new chapter, and he did, but the drawings are slightly messy. When this volume comes out officially in Japan, the chapter will be finished. That makes sense. Thank you for the explanation, because I brought it up. There was this one chapter during the read-through this week that I just posted yesterday, as of when you're watching this. But one of the chapters is the art style's the same, and then there's this one chapter where the first few pages look the same, and then it just gets to where it looks I'm not going to say it looks bad, the art style looks more like the unfinished sketches. Yeah, it doesn't look completely finished. It's just a really raw and rough art style. It's different. And then Galanonim also said, and oh my, I'm glad you actually think, bro. You have no idea how many people were shitting on Mirio for stopping Izuku and on Izuku for getting stopped by Mirio. At least you understand that it was only logical not to rush after Overhaul and get killed by him in one swing. It makes me willing to give you a second like under the video. And yet, neither were wrong in this situation. I even brought it up, of course I brought it up, that's why you brought this up, but that Mirio was obviously in the right. They couldn't let him catch on that they knew he was a criminal, that they were investigating him and stuff. Because if they let a criminal under investigation know that he was under investigation, He could go deeper into hiding, he could up his security, he could do a lot of things that makes it harder to stop him. If he is doing something bad to the girl, letting him catch on and not actually having anything to take him down with here, I mean, that kind of, because really, that's a whole part of the investigation is that they can't just find the guy on the street and arrest him. They need evidence, they need all of that to actually have an actual arrest and conviction and all that. So yeah, if they let him know without solid proof of anything and without being able to just take him in and lock him up for good, then all he's going to do is go into hiding, be harder to catch, and it's going to take even longer to help the people that he's hurting. And then on the other hand, it also makes sense for Izuku though, in my opinion, because both what I think and how I interpret what Midoriya said is it would be suspicious if Heroes just saw a little girl crying and running from someone and just dropped it, just ignored the situation, just was like, oh yeah, carry on about our business. It'd be suspicious. Like, I would think it would be making Overhaul suspicious if you did that, because then you'd be like, huh, those heroes are kind of sketchy. They gave up on a little girl crying and asking for help pretty easily. So, yeah, I see where both are coming from. Mirio was right in what he did, but Izuku was also right, as in, it'd be suspicious for Heroes to not care about this. So yeah, all worked out, both made sense. And that's it for this week's Spoken Word Academia comments. Next up, we have a couple of One Piece comments, first being Seek210, who said, I liked the chapter, but for some reason it felt like it went too slow to get to the point when Big Mom saw the broken picture again. I did like that we got to see Jinbei and Pedro try to help Luffy out against Katakuri. I also liked that Sanji got to stand tall against his crying father, while Nami and Chopper gave them back their suits and also the plugs. The Elbaf flashbacks are going to be great since for so many years people have wanted to see Elbaf or learn more about it. Though it sucks that we have to wait a bit longer since there's a break next week. And yeah, I really like the Jinbei, Pedro, and Bei stuff with Katakuri. I really like that. That was probably some of my favorite stuff in the chapter. The Sanji on the table thing, it's like, it was cool and all, but then when you take a step back and think, you're like, really all he did was kick the candy off of him after his opponent that was kicking his ass got neutralized, and man, Sanji has just come off looking real weak this arc when it was supposed to be the year of Sanji. Whereas Brook has come off looking real strong. So yeah, I thought this chapter was weirdly slow and weirdly short for coming right after a break. This is our second chapter since the last break, and then we're going into another break next week. It just seems like it's a really weirdly slow and short chapter, and of course right before break we usually don't get huge chapters, and this was good in the context of what's going on, but just in general it felt a bit off. It didn't feel totally right. Also, to talk about Elbaf, it's been like a big deal people have been talking about this week, that Elbaf is spelled with a PH instead of an F, so it's not Fable backwards, woo, whatever. But I'm thinking, hasn't Elbaf been said before in the series? Haven't we talked about Elbaf? We talked about Elbaf, just Hyruddin talked about it. How'd they translate it then? Did they translate it with an F then? So I'm wondering, because I don't know the situation, if somebody knows, if they translated it with an F then but a PH now, has something changed? Is this a different island? Is this not the Giant's Elbaf but a different Elbaf? Or is the official translation being inconsistent? Because this can't be the first time they've actually spelled it in the official English translation, so if they've changed the spelling, then that seems like an inconsistency on their part. And I don't know. I don't know the situation well enough to give full thoughts, I guess. So yeah, if anyone knows more about that, help me out, I guess. East 1860 also says, I gotta agree about the sound effects on the Vinsmoke's boots, talking about the anime. It destroys the atmosphere. And yes, I've been complaining about it for the past couple episodes, because like say the episode we got recently with the scene we had, and it was the Ichiji wall scene. Like, it's a really dark and serious scene, it's got some importance and some heaviness, it has cool characters and stuff, But during this, we're just hearing these loud, goofy, squeaking noises, and it's so distracting, especially because it's so loud. I don't have any idea why that one sound effect is played so loudly. And I think there have been some good scenes over the past few episodes that have been kind of hurt a lot by just this goofy, loud, squeaking moon boot sound. It makes the Vince smokes look really, it cheapens them a lot. So yeah, I really don't like it. I think it's been hurting good scenes. It's been taken away from good scenes. And that is it for One Piece comments this week. Last up this week, we got the Magical Girl Raising Project, or Mahou Shoujo Week's HaQ comments, and this is once again kind of our largest collection of comments this week. First off, though, the bonus thing that I mentioned before is based on a comment from Zeroho1, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, who said, it'd be interesting, in my opinion, if you could guess at why magical girls in this book and later books in the series have magical skills that they do, like you did with Cherna in this video. And that's because in my read-through, when Cherna was a giant and everything, and we learned that her power was to grow giant, I was like, she must have, like, because she seems like a lolly as well, so I was like, she must have a size complex in real life, that she's small, or people make fun of her for being small, and she's self-conscious about it, and that's why her skill is to grow larger. And that's actually a really good idea. So in the future, when we finish an arc, I'll maybe sometime in the HaQ&A around that area, I'll do that. I don't think it's something to make a whole separate video on. But it's like a really good idea, but not something to make a whole separate video on, so it's good for the HaQ&A. So I'm going to do it actually right now as the bonus thing this week for the Arc 1 characters. I'm going to give sort of why I think they have their powers, and I guess I'll maybe go... I know all 16 pretty well, because I've had to remember all 16 names for the tags and everything, every video that I've made on the first arc with the anime and the light novel. So I know the names. I'm going to go from, I guess, just the one that I can think of and comes to mind most easily to the most difficult ones, because I did think about all of them before this, just because I didn't want to think about it all on the fly and maybe miss something, so I did think about it before now. First up, easiest, Snow White. Snow White is obviously, she wanted to be a magical girl, that's her dream. She has a power that makes her good at being a magical girl. She just has the generic helping people power, and it's a good power. I mean, it works. Not to judge the power, I'm just saying that it just fits what you would think of a stereotypical magical girl. Second up, Lapicel, easy. He said himself that he wanted to be a knight. Easy. Want to be a knight, you got a magical sword that can change size and shape and whatnot. Shape, kind of. I say shape because it can change its wideness in the light novel as well as its length. But yeah, it makes sense. Wants to be a knight, you got a knight type power. Hardcore Alice, I think Hardcore Alice is one of the most poetic, the way I think about it. Because her power is essentially the power to not die. Sad that she still ended up dying, but her power is pretty much the power to not die. So the thing is that she was suicidal. She wanted to kill herself, but then when she was saved by Snow White, she had a reason to live, and that's when she went and became a magical girl herself to try to be friends with Snow White, be like Snow White. So basically it's like she didn't have a reason to live, but now she had a reason to live, and she wanted to live, and so her power was the power to not die. Yeah, and it's really weird, because I guess the powers are based on their dreams and personality, because we learned that they can't choose their own power. It's based on their personality and their dreams and stuff. So, I guess it makes it a bit more deeper in that way, and that's why we have some that are like really, really powerful and some that are less useful. Coming to mind, Petchka's power has its use, but in general it's not very useful. Whereas you have these powers that no matter what situation you're in, a power like Hardcore Alice's, a power like Clamberries or Swims. There are a lot of powers, or Weiss Winter Prisons, where you're like pretty much any situation you're in, this is a helpful thing to have. and some that you're like, okay, if you're not in the proper situation, it's not really a good power to have. So yeah, that's what I think about Hardcore Alice's power, and her power is also one of the most OP in my opinion. Nemarine, I think she's one of those people that like society would call them lazy or whatnot, but she seemed like one of those people where she didn't have college or school or work or anything going for her. She seemed like she was just like lost in thought and imagination and her own little dream world, you know. And I feel like that whole dream world, dreamer sort of thought and imagination aspect came into her power to go into people's dreams. I feel like that, again, it's a pretty easy one. Next up, I'd say Ripple. Ripple had a ninja theme. She set herself up to want to be very ninja-ish. She pretty much made her magical girl purposefully as much like a ninja as she could. So it came out to be a very ninja power. So yeah, I mean, the author could say, like I think they brought it up as an example, that they thought the author said that there was a reason for each of their powers, and of course I didn't look it up, and they even told me, you know, don't look it up, try to guess. But I think they said something for Ripples, like she had a really direct, straight, focused personality. I'm like, the author can say that, but really, I think when he was thinking of the power, he probably didn't think of the power because of that. He probably thought of it because, very ninja theme, very ninja power. Next up, I'd say Top Speed. Top Speed's another easy one. Personality-wise, it fits her high speed and high energy, hyper personality. And also it fits her biker background, that she sort of has like the motorcycle broom that's turned into kind of just a normal broom in the anime, but still, the same general idea remains. Then Weiss Winter Prison, again another kind of simpler one. She had a real white knight complex. She wanted to protect Nana, so she got the power to make walls to protect. Sister Nana, kind of the same thing, where she believed that Weiss was her savior, and she had this complex of wanting to support others. She wanted to just be a support role, and her power fits that, making other people stronger. Ruler, again, kind of a simple one, knowing her backstory. In her life, she never really felt like she had control. She felt powerless. She felt like there were people above her telling her what to do that didn't deserve to be in that position of power, and she wanted the control as a magical girl that she didn't have in her human life. She felt powerless. She felt out of control in her life, and her power gave her what she wanted. It gave her control. It gave her power. Tama's is difficult. It does fit the dog design, and she chose the dog design on purpose. It also let her like run and hide from her problems, and she used it in that way most of the time when she used it. So I think that might be it. Her non-confrontational personality spawned a power that allowed her to run and hide from her problems, maybe. It was a quick escape ability. Then Clamberry. Clamberry was probably a lover of music. It seems like, she knew how to play the piano, at least, it would seem. Either that or she was really bad at it and just used her magical skill to make her seem like she was good. So probably a music lover. But also, we don't know a lot about her as a human, so I think that could add into it, because we don't know that, maybe she had bad eyesight and was really good at hearing as a human, so her power was to manipulate sound. Or maybe she was deaf as a human and she wanted to be able to hear, and her ability to change sound and stuff was part of that dream. Or even she just sort of had this sort of elegant musician sort of design and air about her, and maybe it was just an elegant power that she thought fit with that style. So yeah, maybe something like that is why Clamberry had her ability. Next up, Swim Swim. Swim Swim's maybe the hardest one? I don't know. I think Swim Swim, it's simple. Maybe she just enjoyed swimming. It's one of those where all the rest, I think there might be deep personality stuff, but But for Swim I see it as being more simple. Maybe she just enjoyed swimming, because we know that she was just a little kid when she first became a magical girl. She got her power as just a little kid before she became all murdery, before she met Ruler and just listened to everything Ruler said. She was just a random little kid that became a magical girl. So judging by that is when she got her power, and her power is to pretty much make her body liquid, and to swim through objects and stuff. I don't really think there needs to be a deep reason to it. She was just a little kid. It doesn't fit her dream to be a princess, the power doesn't. Like, the power doesn't really fit her dream or personality much, so I'm thinking maybe she just enjoyed swimming. It's just a simple child's ability, you know? Next up, Minael and Uniel. They seem like the type where, like, they were really bitchy and, like, two-faced and really vapid and stuff and shallow. So I feel like they were the types that would probably be, like, social chameleons, maybe, where, like, they would change the way they acted around different people to make people like them. So I think just having that kind of shallow, wishy-washy personality, their abilities match that to be able to transform and change shape. I mean, again, that one's a bit difficult, but that's my best guess. Magicaloid 44 and Calamity Mary are the two that are... Well, Calamity Mary's not that hard. I think Calamity Mary, she was really violent, really actually a bad, evil person before even becoming a magical girl. So her power to enhance weapons and to hurt people by enhancing something that it doesn't help, it hurts people. Of course, you can use it to protect people or whatever, but that's not what Calamity Mary was using it for. It fits her personality in that she just was violent and wanted to hurt people. So she gave her a power, or she got a power that could allow her to hurt people. Magicaloid 44 is the hardest. I have no idea. My best guess, though. My best guess for Magicaloid 44, we know she was homeless, we know she was really greedy and selfish, and her dream... She wanted an... I know wanting an easy life was Himiko's dream from Boku no Hero Academia, but I think that was Magicaloid's dream as well, is that she just wanted an easy life. She didn't want to worry about school or parents or anything like that. That's why she just floated around homeless. And I think her power maybe fit that because there was no learning involved. It wasn't about being skilled. It wasn't about practicing. The skill just gave her an item, and either use it, don't use it, figure out or know how to use it, or just wait until you get something else tomorrow. There was no real learning involved. It was just, there was no way to improve her ability. She was just given something and had to deal with it. So that's the hardest one, but that's my thoughts for Magicaloid 44, and that would be all 16. And now, we still have quite a few more comments, so let's get to reading after I grab some water. That was quite the exercise of thinking there. Okay, time to read comments. Andrea Zapita said, for the sex beast thing that Jenna Psycho said, this is what a note from another translation stated. In Magical Girl works, magical girls are often accompanied by mascots who do everything with them, from bathing, sleeping, living, etc., hence the name Sex Beast. That is really dirty to think that magical girls would use their mascots like that. But okay, I guess it's dirty, but I'm like, oh, the kinky geek space police Neko, dirty mind on her. But yeah, too kinky. Damn it, now I can't stop thinking of every magical girl in every magical girl show I've ever seen doing very bad things with the mascot characters, and God, I can't stop thinking about it now. Damn it, Jenna Psycho. Damn it. Andrew Zapita also said, trying to move on so I can think about something else right now. I'm just getting... it's like rapid flood of images into my brain. Andrew Zapita said, quoting me, Sepechka has a use. Lol, don't say... Then they said, lol, don't say that my child is useless. I think Pechka could be super useful by making food and saving magical candies that would be spent on food. But she hasn't done that, and I don't know why. She should actually do that. She should really actually do that. Deshaun Gamble said, by the way, Haku, Fle is pronounced Poufle. Many of us had trouble pronouncing it too at first, lol. And Andrew Zapita said, man, that's why I always called her by her real name. I still like calling her how it's spelled, like Fle, or Puffle, Fle or Puffle. But, man, it's just too fun and too funny to pass up the opportunity to just call her Fle because that's how it's pronounced, or how it's spelled. But Poufle is also very, very fun to say. Like, I'm really torn now because Ple is really funny, but Poufle is really fun to say as well. She has the goofiest name, Poufle. So yeah, either way, I'm really interested to see if Restart does get an anime, which I really hope it does. If they call her how they pronounce it there, you know. Marco Polo said, "Aw, poor Noko-chan is hitting skeletons with her broom. So cute. Also, Masked Wonder still hot. Clantail is my number one." Andrew Zapita said, "Noko-chan is a poor little cupcake. Masked Wonder is thick, and Clantail wins instantly in our hearts." For me, like, I was kind of on Noko-chan, her designs, whatever. The name Noko-chan kind of, I was like, oh, that's cute. She goes up a few points for that. But what really made me put her as, like, one of my favorite girls is just that fight. That fight made her instantly jump up a bunch of places in my ranking of how I think of the characters. Just the thought of her just trying to swing her little broom or mop or whatever around at the skeletons is hilarious. Poor little cupcake. Also, for me, Masked Wonder and Clantail are tied for Best Girl Top Waifu. Victory Pose or Tail Waggles, I cannot choose between the two. Gosh, Victory Pose or Tail Waggles, too difficult a choice. Deshaun Gamble also said, "I'm eating chocolate ice cream while watching this, trying to make you hungry again, lol." Also, you finally met Lapis Lazuli. I can see her being one of your top favorite picks in the future. Everybody freaking out loves Lapis Lazuli. The three characters I've seen the most people using for their, like in the comments and on Twitter and stuff, using as their profile pictures, and also talking about and saying are their favorites. The three, I'd say Lapis Lazuli, Clantail, and Poufle, or Ple, are the three I see the most. But yeah, for me right now, I'll tell you, I even wrote it down there, my, I'll go least to most favorite here for my characters right now. For right now, after 2 chapters, that's all I've read. I think maybe tomorrow I'll read the first part of the next one, and then on Friday I'll read the second part of the next one, then post them either Sunday, Monday, or Sunday, Tuesday, depending on what the schedule's like. Probably Sunday, Tuesday, but it depends on how Little Witch Academia goes, like this week. Because I'm going to probably have to split it into 2 parts. I've looked at the page number and it's pretty long as well. So I'll just do 2 parts, one after the other. You get what I'm saying. But after 2 chapters, my least favorite so far, even though I like all of them, is the detective girl, because I've learned nothing about her really. We've just only seen her once and haven't even really seen her talking or anything. Second to last, Pechka. It's just because Pechka's personality is a little kind of boring, and her power is kind of boring. Her design. Pechka's just a little bit boring right now. Pechka, 15th place. Not bad though, I still enjoy her. 14th place, Cherna. Yeah. Also, I guess that the giant girl was Cherna. Bringing that up from earlier, just because at first she was like, you shouldn't hunt here, this is Cherna's place or whatever. So I was thinking, okay, is Cherna the Clamberry version 2 looking girl? But then, like, we saw her show up and they called her like Melly or Melvie or something, because it's Melville. And I was like, okay, so that girl herself must be Cherna, and she has this, the complex that you see in anime and manga a lot with, especially with lolly characters where they refer to themselves in the third person. So, yeah, I pretty quickly caught on that was just her talking to herself in the third person, or talking about herself in the third person. Cherna's 14th place. Think she's cute, but whatever right now. Not that much known about her. 13th place, R.I.P. Daisy. Daisy, again, is just kind of... I feel like I like Daisy, but kind of gone too soon for me to really get that attached to. Samurai Girl, I'd put the spot above Daisy. because she has a really, really cool power, but then again, on the other hand, we still know nothing about her, really. Next is Ple, because Ple, I really like her personality, really like her design, just not really as outgoing and hasn't had as much focus as a lot of the other girls. Next would be at Nyan Nyan. I love the design, and she's had some pretty good lines as well. Then above at Nyan Nyan would be Lapis Lazuli. In what place would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. That'd be 9th place. Lapis Lazuli's 9th place for me right now. We just got to know her, but already her handshake with Masked Wonder was great. 8th place, Jenna Psycho, because Lewd Neko Police Space thing. Man, Jenna Psycho, dirty, dirty kitty. 7th place, Shadow Gale. I really like Shadow Gale, and I thought I was going to put her higher up, but we haven't seen too much of her personality yet, I guess. She's a character that I'm excited to see a lot more of, though. I want to see a lot more Shadow Gale, because I really like her design, and I think that her story so far is interesting, just her backstory and everything I like. 6th place, Rionetta, just because her design's amazing. Her personality is what it is. We haven't seen as much of her as we have like Miyakata or Pechka, but still, personality is what it is, but I think her design's awesome. 5th place, Noko-chan, because poor thing trying to fight skeletons with her mop. Poor Noko-chan. 4th place already is Melville. Melville's design is so cool. I like the really thick accent. I think that adds to the characterization. And just seems like such a badass out there hunting skeletons and stuff. I don't know. I really, really like Melville. 3rd place for me is Miyakata, just because Miyakata I thought was okay, and then finding out she was like not really Japanese, just really a weeb, I was like, okay, that makes her even funnier, even more dynamic and fun to watch. Then there were 2 lines especially. Let me grab some water. Hold up, my throat is like getting really hoarse. There were 2 lines for me in this chapter, and each of them made her jump way up in the rankings. First of all is when she's with Pechka, and she says, when they kick you out of the team, I'll team up with you, yes? And starts shaking her hands up and down. And the second one was the line where she sees this, where they all have the meeting, and then she sees the samurai girl for the first time, and when she sees her for the first time, she starts walking up to her and saying random Japanese words, like, what was it, like, seppuku, or, she didn't say origami, I know she said, like, seppuku, harakiri, degazaru, she said, like, all these, like, stereotypical samurai words, just walking up to her from seeing her for the first time. Like, that scene put her up at 3rd place. I love that scene. Then 1st place / 2nd place, it's a tie. It's a tie between Clantail and Masked Wonder, because Clantail's my favorite design. I also, I think I've come to like her design maybe more than Melville's. She's up there. I love her design. I love her ability. Plus, she's such a waifu. Plus, I really like the personality. I like that sort of calm, reserved kind of personality that she has. That's something that I really, really like. But Masked Wonder, on the other hand, while Clantail is a bunch of these characteristics and just a design I love, Masked Wonder is the most entertaining character to read. I have more fun reading Masked Wonder than pretty much any of the other characters. She's just such a fun and exciting and enjoyable character. The Masked Wonder has to be tied. So yeah, those are my least to most favorite right now. Next up, Deshaun Gamble said, you know what's funny, Haku? You said in part 1 of chapter 2 before Daisy's death that if you were Daisy, you would just Daisy beam all the skeletons on the field. I laughed when I heard that and was like, poor Haku has no idea. I thought the same thing when reading Restart for the... and they also said I thought the same thing when reading Restart for the first time. I asked myself, why is Pechka eating this bullshit when she has convenient power for situations like these? And yeah, exactly. It seriously seems like she could just... She says she can make delicious food, trademark, but she could just make delicious food whenever she wants. Why not just eat delicious food instead of wasting magical candies to buy food that isn't even as good? So yeah, I don't get that. And then actually they continued on, also my apologies, I didn't know you had doubts about Daisy dying or not. I thought it was clear considering how the story described it. She couldn't hear, she had a bloody hole in her stomach, her heart beat faster than normal because she was on her last moments, she coughed up blood and fell, plus the fact that her team left her also points to her dying. Why else would her team leave her? Again, I thought you figured out by now, but I guess you didn't, so my apologies. I made the first comment before finishing the video. Oh, and don't worry. It wasn't really a spoiler, because it's kind of like that situation where, like, when she got hit originally, like, I was like, I thought she died, but we cut away from it, so I'm like, I'm not sure if she died or if she was just attacked and is injured now, because we cut away before we could see how that scene finished. But then when I saw her team at the meeting and she wasn't there with them, I assumed she was dead. But even though I was assuming she was dead, it sucks when, like, you're watching somebody read through something and they keep jumping to conclusions, you know, and they're like, oh, this is how this is. And especially if it's a wrong conclusion. Like, let's say she had just been, like, stabbed in the back, and next chapter we'd find out that they bandaged her up or whatever. Then she survived because she's a magical girl or just whatnot. Then it would have sucked if I had read the rest of this chapter with the assumption that she was dead. Like, I did assume she was dead, but I didn't want to just jump to conclusions and read the rest of the chapter as if that was what was going on, just in case it wasn't, you know? It's okay to assume, but not to just pass judgment too soon. Next up, Deshaun Gamble said, Cherna, or Chipmunk Girl, is basically the Attack on Titan girl of the series, as you can tell. Also, Melville, who I believe was your favorite character design, good luck reading her accent. I like her accent. To me, as an English speaker, when I'm sounding it out, it sounds like it's really, really thick, like German or some, like, Central to Northern European accent. And that would be interesting, since it's not something we see a lot of in, like, anime, manga, light novels, whatever. But as I mentioned in the video, it's like it's really hard for a translator to portray accents. Because say if they add a it's hard in general for writing to portray an accent in writing, but especially translating something. Because, like, a German accent to Japanese, or an English, or if it was an English accent, how would you or an American accent, how would you translate that, translating it into English, you know? Or if it was like a German accent sounds, I'm presuming, different to Japanese people in Japanese as it would in English. So really it could be any kind of accent, but it seems German, but it's hard for a translator to portray accents. It's like, I would say near impossible. It's really difficult to just get an accent over in translated word like that. In word in general, but especially translated. And then one last comment. This is the last one, actually. Roos12389 said, I think you need to reread Arc 1. I think it was stated that it was Clanberry's idea about the death battle test. Fav liked it and went along with it. Fav didn't manipulate Clanberry. At least it wasn't even implied. He was looking for exciting things, and the idea that Clanberry suggested made him excited. And I will strongly refute that and say I just read Arc 1. And here are my thoughts on that subject, and why I always say that it was Fav that manipulated Clanberry. Starting from the beginning, Clanberry was a child. I'm pretty certain it said that at the time of her test, either it said she was like an elementary schooler, or that all of the people in her specific test were elementary schoolers. Something like that. But either way, she was a child, I'm pretty certain. So she survives against a demon who kills all of her classmates who she had gotten to know or whatever. All of her other, or test mates at least. All of them were killed, and in her rush of adrenaline, she killed the demon, and she was like, you know, I want to fight and risk my life again because of that rush there. And it's pretty much, she developed a complex where she sort of fetishized risking her life after a traumatic, life-threatening experience. And that's something that happens in real life sometimes. Somebody goes through this life-threatening event and they're like, man, I just want to go skydiving or something. That adrenaline, they get sort of an addiction to that sort of life or death adrenaline shock. So that's kind of something that happened to her. And Fav himself, when she was taking that test already Fav had started experimenting before Clanberry with more dangerous tests. And he told, he was bored of normal tests and wanted to do more dangerous tests with more at risk and producing more exciting results. And so as a result, he told Clanberry that she could have her life-threatening fights and do all of that if she served as his master and proctored his life-threatening tests. And it was something that she wasn't going to turn down. He knew she wouldn't. She couldn't turn down because her mental state was in that sort of addiction to that life-threatening situation. So basically, Fav had the plans already in motion. He was making more dangerous tests, and the only thing is, for him to go through with these dangerous tests, he needed a magical girl. He needed somebody to be the proctor, and he would just be the... he needed a master. That was something that they established, that he would be in trouble if Snow White wouldn't be his master. He needed a master in order to do his tests. And so he chose somebody that he knew he could manipulate. He picked somebody that was messed up in the head that would go along with it. So, yeah, I'm saying she's messed up in the head. Clanberry was not innocent. She was fucked up in the head, as I said. But in the end, Fav had the real power over those events. He was the one using Clanberry to allow him to put on the tests. But also, you could be right about her wanting the death battle structure, because even though he was the one that wanted the dangerous tests, the dangerous tests didn't necessarily have to be combat-based, and Clanberry herself, I don't remember, she may have said, we should make those dangerous tests combat-oriented. I don't remember either. So it's possible that she did want to make it death battle tests, but from the beginning it was Fav manipulating her because he needed a magical girl master or proctor, and he knew that Clanberry could be manipulated. That's why he didn't like Swim Swim, because Swim Swim couldn't be manipulated in the same way that Clanberry could, because she didn't want the exciting tests or anything. She just wanted to be a princess. She couldn't be manipulated in the same way, and that's why Snow White was kind of a last-ditch effort. Ripple wasn't a good choice either, because Ripple would definitely not have gone along with it. And he felt, I guess he maybe felt like Snow White was a weaker person and would sort of end up being easier to manipulate, but he was deathly wrong, and that's why Snow White was able to sort of turn against him and find the way to defeat him and all that. So yeah, that's at least my thoughts on the subject. Clanberry wasn't innocent, but she was kind of messed up in the head and really, really needed mental help. She was more manipulated by Fav. Whereas this seemed... and this reminds me. Whereas this seemed, it's like Fall doesn't want to go along with this, but Fall's being forced to go along with this because Fall is just a... what are they called again? I guess a mascot is the way they'd put it, but a familiar, that's it. He's just a familiar. He can't do anything. He has to go along with what the master says, even if he doesn't want to. But the master for this one, this is going to be a crazy theory, and it's 95% probably going to be wrong. And of course, don't tell me if I'm right or wrong, because that would kind of spoil it. But I had this theory that I was thinking about after reading the second chapter, that I just kept thinking and thinking this. I kept thinking, what if Daisy's not actually dead? What if Daisy is the evil proctor putting on this exam, and her sort of kind of faking her own death was sort of the way to kick off the portion of this exam where you knew you could die or something? So that is just my secret little theory in the background, is that Daisy is the magical proctor. Because it would almost make sense. She enjoyed fighting. She had this ability based on fighting. That would mean that she would know about the skeletons reflecting stuff and killing her. I mean, I don't know, it just seems like that'd be so interesting, especially if at the end Snow White comes in to try to save the girls that are left, and she's like, yo, you're Magical Daisy, you're this big, famous, good magical girl with all these stories about you, and Daisy's like, haha, all according to Mahou Shoujo Isekai Haku. All according to the Keikaku, and yeah, that's my little side theory. So yeah, either way, I guess that's it for this week. I'll go ahead and end this one since it's like an hour long. Like, if you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of all this stuff here and more. No spoiler, please. No spoil. Yeah, just comment anything you want to talk about next week. All of that. Anything you want to talk about in the comments. Whatever. Follow him, or subscribe if you want as well. Follow on Twitter if you want, because I can try to, because I'll try to keep you updated there and stuff with the channel. I'll talk to you there and everything. Also, you can vote there on stuff. I might do more polls more often as to what videos I might do next for the long-term videos, or for what anime I might watch next. I might do more stuff like that more often, or just polls in general for fun. So yeah, all of that is what it is, and thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.